So this regular board meeting will be recorded and uploaded to our district website. The definitive documentation and decisions of the board are shown in our meeting minutes. Any use of an electronic device such as a computer or cell phone during the course of the meeting is related to the business of the meeting. The core values that guide our work for the school district are respect, compassion, honesty, responsibility, and relationship. So we're calling the meeting to order at 5:32 and acknowledging that today's board meeting is being held within the traditional territory of the Denizah and Treaty 8. And we're going to come back to number 2. And we're going to start with number 3. We do have quorum. Nicole Gillis is on Zoom and will be joining us in a little bit. Regrets today from Trustee Lehman and Trustee Scott.
Great. So yeah, thank you, Helen. And so we're going to begin with the presentation from one of our high school teachers, Mr. Hyde, Scott Hyde, outdoor ed. And he's brought one of the students, Stefan, with us. So really appreciate you being here. And the board their interest was piqued when they saw in the news that you had a crew out there for a fundraising activity. And so we were hoping to hear more about it. And of course, just a bit of a sense of the outdoor ed program as well. So please join us here at the table, both of you here. And if you don't mind just kind of introducing yourselves, and then I'll launch into some pictures and you can speak to them. I know you're good here, yeah, because no one's on there right now. So yeah.
And if we need that clear, she can see the screen.
That's right.
Okay. So yeah, we have a few pictures and videos to show you. And so this is Stefan's second time around in outdoor ed. So I'll speak to most things, but Stefan can add to anything he's been a part of.
Fantastic. So how long have you been in the district, Scott, and what's your current position?
So this is my 6th year in the district, and most of my schedule is outdoor ed.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to think it gets a little bit better every year. And then I do mostly social studies in addition to that.
Fantastic. And Stefan, what grade are you in?
I'm a grade 12 here at North Peace.
Terrific. Well, thanks for being here. So I'll, in no particular order, right? I'll just start to pull up some pictures or.
Yeah, maybe if start with the video.
Got it.
If you want to do
You
that.
betcha.
Andiamo!
Very.
So yeah, that was our second polar bear dip. We just did that last month. The weather was freezing, and it was extra cold for Cecilia and Elisa because they're 2 of our international kids. So yeah, great stories and pictures for them. The polar bear dip was something I wanted to do for a while, but I wasn't sure how to do it kind of safely and with confidence. I mean, the concept of it is quite simple, but if something goes wrong, that's not something I wanted to do by myself. So a few years ago, I was part of Search and Rescue, so I thought to reach out to them. And as a trade-off for them kind of managing the safety aspect of things, they get 100% of what we're able to fundraise. So yeah, this year, both years were great. This year, I think went even better. And we're kind of already talking about how to make year 3 better. So yeah, it was a great day. Yeah. And yeah, Stefan helped out with with that as well. So
Yeah, I believe last year we did a lot of fundraising. I fundraised about $250, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it was unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend ours last year, but due to work, but I was honored that I got to fundraise the amount of money I did. That went towards, of course, search and rescue, and just, it was an honor to honestly say that I helped in a way getting this.
Fantastic.
yeah, so we think that that partnership is a good one, just like with us kind of exploring and getting inside. Search and rescue does exactly that. So they were really thrilled to be a part of it. We're thrilled to help, and maybe they'll get some future members from something like this. But that's a really fun and extreme thing that we do that is very controlled and very safe. You want to speak about chili cook-off?
Yeah, so with also in our class, we have the chili cook-off that happens every semester. Fortunately, last year in my grade 11 year, I was part of the first semester class, and I was fortunate enough to be on the winning team. So my team, I believe we were called the Five Chili Scrotum. It was a team of about two Canadians, and which included me and my friend Rylan, and we had about 4 other international students with us, all the way from Germany to Belgium. And yeah, we got the honor of winning the trophy, which Mr. Hyde has a trophy in our class, which wins the chili bowl, and you get your name put on it. It's a really cool thing. We get to go to Charlie Lake every year, cook up chili on the fire. Last year we couldn't, sadly, because of the rain.
Mhm.
Cook them on stovetops, but it's honestly a really cool experience getting to, do that and say I won something like that in a non-athlete form. But yeah, it was a really cool experience.
So this is our this was our first overnight trip on the Peace River, which a lot of planning went into. It took years. I became a lifeguard for this trip, and yeah, I thought I'm from Ontario and I tried to canoe whenever I could. There's less water out here, but lots of rivers. And so I got to just exploring the rivers, and I realized going down the Peace River that it's not as risky as one might think. There's no log jams, there's no rapids. We did see lots of wildlife, moose, elk, eagles, beaver, bears, but it was fantastic from a distance, and they're more scared of us than we are of them. So we took 8 kids, 110 kilometers down the river. And so they literally canoed to another province. Yeah, it was a big 2 days, but a great 2 days. Yeah, I was really proud of them. This is our training that was unscripted. But so that's just in Charlie Lake. We do kind of like a crash course on the water. And yeah, I was really happy that they fell in because it was freezing that day. And it wasn't as controlled as when we do it at the pool. We do a day at the pool before Charlie Lake. And it's just great stories for the kids. So yeah, a lot of time and resources go into that canoe trip. We're planning on doing that one again. Yeah, really great time. And yeah, same trip there. Another thing we've done, you were a part of this, weren't you?
I don't think I was.
So a friend who works at McElhaney, McElhaney is trying to get younger people into surveying. There's a huge, they're really desperate for people going into that field. So they put together an exercise where kids, they build boats out of cardboard and duct tape, and they're prompted with a few design ideas, but we bring them to the pool and we see if they float or sink, and that's a fun day. So we built a few partnerships with kind of different organizations in town, which is good. And we're hoping to do this one again because that was just a lot of fun. And yeah, we're at the pool not quite a bit, a few days a year, but Do you want to talk about the being at the pool the other day?
Yeah, so it was like, yeah, Friday last week. Yeah, Friday last week, we went down and did like our crash course on the canoe rescue and stuff like that. And that's a lot of fun doing that because you get to experience it, not like it's the real thing, but it's very similar because it's like, falling out of the canoe, flipping it over, saving yourself. It's a lot of fun. It's a good experience. Of course, it's not as dangerous in case you were, say, on a river or on a lake. It's not as deep. You are in a safe, controlled area, but honestly, it's a great experience. And I look forward to hopefully getting to do it again in this Tri Lake or on the river because it's usually an all around great experience.
This was a chili dip.
Yeah, that's another chili cook-off there. So this is our winter camping trip. Every semester we try and do at least one overnight trip just to kind of cap off the semester. So this was at Charlie Lake. And the kids who are interested dig out Quincy's and sleep in them overnight. So this is Caleb and Easton digging out their Quincy. And obviously we go through like how we practice building one. You can see ruins of one in the schoolyard right now. Clothing, how to layer up. I took a bushcraft course using Pro D funds not too long ago, and I learned how to build a Quincy even better. And we had 1,200 pounds of people standing on the top of that, and it didn't budge an inch. So the kids loved that. That was a great trip. I also thought it'd be good to invest in a wall tent. And so we also used this at the polar bear dip. And that was just much easier than an ice fishing tent to allow people to get changed and warm up. So I actually slept in that the night before the polar bear dip. So I had a chill before I went in the water. But so that's at Camp Cameron. And that was a lot of fun because we set that up on the ice and then the wind just picked it up and took it down the lake. So we had to carry it back up to shore. And yeah, that was a blast. But we had about 6 kids sleeping in there, and they got to wake up every now and then and stoke the fire and learn what goes with kind of managing a wall tent. Yeah.
Those are the things. So I know there'll be questions for them, but anything else you guys want to add first?
Any other trips or activities you want to add?
No, I think we covered all the ones I personally experienced that I went over with, but yeah, like the Quincy, we did one in the schoolyard this year. Sadly, it collapsed about 2 weeks ago. About that when it got warm again, but it was ours. We got pretty big. We had a good area shoveled out in the middle, good size. So we had just connected the 2 entrances. We went to work on the 3rd one, and then the entire thing collapsed during the melt, and it sucked because we spent a lot of time working on that. That was about 2 semesters worth of work right there from the last semester and then this current semester. And then it breaks on us and we're just heartbroken because we spent a lot of time with that thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah, I guess the only other trip, and stop me if I'm
No, it's
too
good.
long,
Yeah, no, keep
Um,
going.
semester 2 works out a little better for the end of year trips. As I mentioned, we're planning on doing the canoe trip, but we also do overnight backpacking trip in Tumbler. And so I found a trail that the city's okay with us camping there overnight. The bus can get there, but the trail splits off in 2. So we can do one trail Friday night and then the next Saturday before the bus comes back. So it's the Bergeron trails, if anyone's familiar with that. So we do the falls at night. We can go right up to the base of the waterfall as long as the water isn't too high. And then the following day we do the cliffs. But we've done that one about 3 times now. And yeah, again, we've seen a bear on that trip, a couple of mountain goats, or still get goats and sheep mixed up because we don't have them where I'm from.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of wildlife, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to that trip. So both those overnight trips will happen late May or early June. Yeah, and for the chili cook-off, we do that with the Rotary Club. And so that's kind of like another partnership we built. And the Rotary Club actually is interested in making it bigger. So we're thinking of challenging maybe the outdoor ed group at the ELC, or maybe the foods room, or I heard there was a school in Hudson Hope that showed interest. So we might try and challenge someone for the chili cup. See how that goes.
Which Rotary Club?
The one that at Charlie Lake, I don't know.
Well, it would be because there's two Rotaries, right?
Yeah, there's the morning and then there's the afternoon and then there's a virtual. And okay, I'm just curious.
I talk to Dawn usually.
Okay, it's probably the afternoon then.
I think so. Yeah.
That's terrific, and I know there'll be some questions from the trustees.
I don't.
The way that you're talking about this, when you go into the course, do you go the full year or just one semester at a time? Like I know some courses go the whole year, but there's 2 semesters. So how does this work?
So yeah, it's just one semester at a time. The overnight trips are the biggest difference.
But do you have the same kids? Like,
Different kids.
or different ones
Yeah,
that?
so a student like Stefan, he took it once, liked it, was able to sign up for it again.
Okay,
We have outdoor at 11 and 12. And sometimes it's if it works for scheduling, just kind of like a split class. With every unit we do, like it's very dependent on weather. We focused a lot on snow shelters early on, and then 2 weeks ago, that was out the window. So we move on to something new, but a lot of the units are the same, and it's a lot of skill building. So like with a snow shelter, the concept is simple, but it's very time consuming. And so the project or assignment that they'll have to do, like Stefan will do a different one from the first time he was in it, but he's still practicing a lot of the same skills. And so for something like tying knots, you can't do that enough. Even I learned a knot a couple weeks ago. I must have tied it 50 times. And then I tried it a week later, and it took me 50 times just to get it right once again. So we have a project for every activity that we do. For example, the knots and ropes. We make our own fishing nets. And so it's a few knots, but we tie it like 100 times, and it's something the kids get to keep. And so what do I have you on this year? A hammock?
Yeah, I'm currently making a hammock for my projects. I've already done the fishing net.
Yeah.
And it's quite the pain because it's way bigger, thicker rope, but it's still a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it so far. It's quite tricky, but I'm figuring it out as we do it.
And you get to nap on it.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I get to take it home and put it in my backyard.
so for example, if you had your polar dip in every semester, you just do one at the end of the semester, one at the beginning.
Yeah, so the polar bear dip, so far we've just done the first semester. And there's a couple reasons we only do that once a year. The first is because at least right now we can offer two overnight field trips at the end of semester 2. Whereas semester 1, I like going to Camp Cameron because if we dig the Quincy's and it's cold, we have that safety net of the heated cabins there. I'm not willing to bring that many kids backcountry winter camping. So it kind of balances things out that way. I don't want to water down the fundraising for search and rescue by doing it twice. So usually when you have like just one date a year that you can look forward to, then it tends to work better dollars wise for search and rescue. So, and in the 2 years we've gotten just under $10,000 for them. So it's been, yeah, really great for both sides.
Part of my interest after I saw the information on the polar bear swimming, search and rescue is not a group that I think of our students fundraising for. We hear lots about fundraising for the food bank or the women's shelter or anything, other things, but this fits so well with your course. We hope you never ever have to use search and rescue,
Yeah.
but you know,
That's
relationship.
kind of the half joke I always use, and we might have to call him one day, so we're just, yeah,
He's in the
being friends now.
Partner. Other questions?
The Quincy thing was really cool. Actually, my kids, they're quite a bit younger than you are.
Mhm.
But they started building it out in the schools. I mean, they didn't get half as far as you guys did, but just kind of that idea of building towards it, I thought was really cool. So it's cool to see the symmetry here to a finished product versus a little tiny snow hill. Was that Billy in the first cook-off picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. He's my cousin's kid. Wall tent. Little trick for you. If you pre-drill a hole, and then there's these spiralized net anchors that you can put into the ground. We've got 3 sets of them that hold those down, even at the top of the old fort.
It would probably work better than 10 teenagers' hands.
100%.
What a learning
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love what you guys are doing out here.
Yeah, and yeah, that tent has come in handy quite a bit so far.
Did you guys set up the furnace in there as well?
Yeah, and we got smoked out for a few hours, and then it started to go out the chimney. So that was a process in itself too.
Your connector, what do you drop it at?
So the original launch site was going to be the Taylor Boat Launch. Last year, one of our coworkers has a property in Old Fort. And so we asked her if we could launch off her property in Old Fort. And the reason I made that change is we had 10 kilometers to line up going between the pillars of the bridge. So the biggest risk I think there is on the stretch that we do is the pillars of the bridge. And I just felt a lot better not being so close to them as we launch. So, and we went to Blackfoot Regional Park the first night, which was about 50 kilometers. And then we did another 60 the next day to Many Islands Campground.
So just so you know, there is a second boat launch in Taylor on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah, so
That's where the old one was.
I heard about that
Yeah.
and I went in my truck exploring, and I don't know if I went down the right dirt road, but when I got there, it was about a 6-foot drop
Well,
down.
there, you can go.
So if I find that, then we'll probably, yeah.
Like, so anyone in the district of Taylor, that's where I'm from, could
Okay.
take you down and show you just for an option.
Yeah, that would probably be better if we could avoid those pillars right off the bat.
Can you tell me, you've done this course now for 2 years in a row, what activities do you see yourself continuing from after you've graduated from high school?
Well, I found myself as an outdoorsman. Like I grew up in a town called Golden, British Columbia, which is in the heart of the mountains. And I've always been a big fan of hiking and exploring. So when I first took this course, I thought it was gonna be like, okay, we're gonna be in a class one day. But we got to go outside. We got to learn how to, like last year, we built shelters in the forest and we poured water on it on ourselves, which was a lot of fun. And I took that like, you know what, this could be a lot of fun because you think about it, these type of experiences, they kind of show you what it's like to be in a different realm. Like there's a few kids who probably never even tied a knot, let alone tied a bowline knot like you taught us. And they only know these type of things that can maybe help me one day. Because you never know, you could, who knows, you flip your car in a ditch and you're stuck in there for a night, gotta know how to survive. And that's why I find this course a great idea for just general, for the future and for everyone, because if you can learn the simple things, you can survive a long time.
Nicole, do you have any questions? All right. Well,
Good, yeah.
thank you. We very much enjoyed hearing about your programs, and now when some of those requests come for field trips and approvals, we've got a little bit more background because we did ask quite a lot of questions on one of them, so. we
Yeah,
know what's going on.
Yeah, so to your credit, and you'll recall trustees, I mean, I was a little bit reticent last year when we brought it to the board, just around the canoe trip and stuff, but we appreciate your patience to get through all those obstacles and set up something that was safe and a great learning experience.
Together we learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've also turned a corner on that and look forward to hearing more things going on. So thank you for coming tonight. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us in. I like to speak about the program too. And yeah, with respect to things like the canoe trip, I totally get it from your point of view too. That's yeah, there is a lot of risk, but we
We
work
mitigated it.
hard to minimize it.
Totally.
Your level of dedication and all the things like your lifeguard and some of the specific training you've done is very admirable.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
was asking when you dropped in because I've done the opposite. I've dropped in Hudson Hills
Oh,
and
okay.
went to Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah, I would, I'm trying to do a new river every year sort
Oh, yeah.
of thing. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that dam's kind of in the way now. but-
Yeah, that was before then, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if anyone wants to see it firsthand, I'd be willing to take anyone down personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Which is the list.
yeah, I'm serious. I love going down and I always try and head down a week or two before we do the trip. So, yeah, I really don't mind doing that if it puts more minds at ease. Then,
And we all appreciated hearing that they came back. We did.
yeah, me too. Yeah.
So listen, thanks again. We're going to continue on with our meeting. You don't have to stay. You're welcome to, but we're going to move on to the rest of the meeting. So you're free to run if you want, but thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you
okay.
very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks very much, guys.
You betcha.
Just gonna quickly show you.
His teaching. All right, I'm going back to item number 2 on our agenda, which is addition to the agenda and.
Thank you. See you later.
You have to carry that with you. Yeah, just leave it there.
Can I get a mover and a seconder for the agenda? Moved by Bill, seconded by Thomas. Are there any additions? Seeing none then, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. Moving on to trustee engagements and celebrations. We'll start with trustee Campbell.
As you all know, I was sick the last couple of weeks, so I didn't do too much. I did let my packs know that I wasn't able to attend them. But this coming week, I think I'm busy the rest of the week, every day, doing something at one of the schools. And on Friday, actually the Bell Donald PAC is putting on a luncheon for, the WI from Bell Donald, because they do fundraising and they donate their money their profits to the 3 schools. They donate it to the Bell Donald School, the Taylor School, and Freedom Thinkers. And so the Bell Donald PAC thought it'd be nice to have an appreciation dinner and tea for the lunch and tea. So that's this Friday.
Thank you. Trustee Gillis.
I haven't been up to very much. I'm always present at the Hudson Soap School, but more in a parent role. I did go and volunteer one day. They go figure skating, the little kindergartens, and they often need help tying their skates. So I volunteered one day to tie a bunch of little kids' skates. That's about it. I was also absent for the last committee of the whole meeting.
Thank you. Great. And we don't have trustee Lehman and trustee Scott Moncrief with us, so Vice Chair Snow.
All right. So our trip down to the ELC there, we went my couple of trips down there. The Growing Your Own at the Lido I went to. I was there for about an hour and a half or so, sat in a couple sessions. The Ann Roberts Young Science Fair, I went and judged that. Basketball tournament, I made it to about 6 games altogether. And then during the regular part of the basketball, I did about 4 or 5 different games. Black History Month, I went to that. Our policy meeting, the DPAC, STUPAC meeting. And one other I got here, and I can't remember how long ago it was, but the Central Play. I think that might have been back in January. I can't remember how long ago it was. So I've been active, but
Thank you. Trustee Whitten.
So I was over at the mentorship day, the Growing Our Own, for 2 reasons. For first morning part, I was there just kind of keeping an eye on it. And then I got the chance to sit down with some youth and talk about IT and how they can get careers in it, which was really nice. Attended Ann Roberts Young Winter Activities Day. I got to go out skating and had a whole lot of fun tying skates and just really enjoying being out on the ice. All my boys now know how to skate very well. So it's nice to kind of get kids, be able to help them learn again. Committee of the Whole at the ELC was very eye-opening. It was a great time. I learned that I got to catch up on my grade 10, 11, 12 math because I was not following it as well as I was in school days. And on a personal note, we have a new child on the way.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations.
Right. So I did a board chair call on the 20th, and I attended provincial counselors as an observer. I attended DPAC. We had lots of DPAC this last time. Northeast Roundtable meeting, but there's nothing new to report there, labor management. And this past Thursday and Friday, I was at partner liaison meeting. The first day on Thursday was the BCSTA day for board chairs. The second was the ministry day with chairs, secretary, treasurers, and soups together. On the board chair day, I made a presentation on behalf of the Rural and Remote Network. And the second day started with presentations from Minister Bear, where funding announcements were made, and we'll bring you a bunch more information back from that meeting. Just haven't had time to sit down and process it. So that's kind of been what I've been up to. All right, we'll move on to item number 5 on our agenda, which is minutes of the regular board meeting of February the 18th, which is pages 6 to 14 in your package. He's joined us by ghostly means in his place.
Oh, sorry.
No, there's just interesting sounds.
It's just ringing, I think. Sorry.
All right. Can I please get a mover and a seconder for those minutes? Moved by Ida, seconded by Thomas. Any errors or omissions? Calling the question then. All in favor? Carried. Business arising from the minutes. Recognition of donations, I believe we'll talk about at a future committee of the whole meeting. And now that everybody has all the documentation related to student voice, we will have a follow-up discussion related to student voice. We started the discussion in advance and we need to continue it. Today's presentation, it was interesting to see what was going on there, especially after the science fair presentation last time. Lots of community connections going on. Right. Is there any other business arising from those minutes for anyone? Moving on to item number 6 on our agenda then, which is approval of the excerpts of the regular board meeting of January 20th, which is page 15 in your package. Okay, can we get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Ida, seconded by Nicole. Any errors or omissions? On the question then, all in favor? That is carried. On to announcements and reminders. We thought February and March were busy. We're getting into April and May. Is there anything missing from this list at this point in time?
Wait 2 seconds, I'm gonna find it.
So our committee of the whole meeting is at the Key Learning Center on May the 5th.
May 22nd is the case.
Oh, thank you. May 22nd, Joy Days. And I can add district public speaking, which I believe memory says May 21st, but let's see what the date book says. Yep, it's May the 21st. District public speaking. District public speaking, elementary district public speaking. Yep.
I see that on April 22nd, we only have one going to, SUPAC, but I can go that day and I can let Sharon know.
Okay, thank you. I think I said I would go in May. Yep. So if
Yeah.
you can cover that, that would be
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
I see you go the other times.
Yeah.
I can go that day.
Thank you very much. And this last, so I appreciate it. Right? No further additions. We'll move on to item 8 on your agenda, senior staff reports. Superintendent. Sorry.
The May 9th. Can we just sometime get information about that date? Sure. Well, I'll make sure that, 'cause
We're bringing in Joe Crona at the Pomeroy for all the teaching staff. Then, and so that's the meeting. She's quite a long one. She wrote the book Why Walk.
Yeah.
So we've been reading through that. And so she's coming as our main speaker, and then we'll be having some breakup sessions. Fortunately, like I can check things out, getting more information, but I think there wasn't enough room to accommodate everybody in terms of all the support staff and that, but this is one aspect of it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
If anybody wants, on May 9th as well, we're doing Beaver Camp that weekend as well. So if you can't make it to that, come to Beaver
There you
Camp
go.
with us.
So if I can
Yeah,
here,
go
then,
for
so
it.
on my soup report here is basically, it's a dedication to Black History Month. And I canvassed for examples and artifacts from around the district in terms of activities K to 12 that are happening around anti-racism in particular for Black History Month. So the first part is an example of the modules that school leaders and senior staff are working through right now. So if you want to, you can read through those on your own and get a sense of some of the learning that we're doing together. Those modules we continue every month as a leadership group, and that'll probably take us right into the fall. So it's going quite well. In addition, of course, then there are some examples from around the district for Black History Month. I'm not going to speak to every single one. I do invite the trustees and the public to go and check out these great examples. The staff were very excited to share what was going on. I did want to highlight one particular one here because I asked for examples from K to 12. And this was an interesting one from Lindsay Lynn, I believe it is. Yeah, Lindsay Lynn, teacher at Northview Secondary. It was a poem on biochemistry, which you would wonder what's the link. But it was about the author, as well as sometimes how research was used in the past. So that's neat to work through. And I found the last part really interesting, and I'll read it. This is from the teacher. As well, we had a short discussion about Henrietta Lacks, who is a Black African woman. Lacks cervical cancer cells are the source of the Haley cell line, which was used extensively for cellular research, as it is an immortal, what they call an immortal line. There were many ethical considerations with this, as researchers profited from the cell lines, but Henrietta's own family didn't receive any benefit, nor did they consent to the procedure. So it's just a historical piece sometimes around the ethics and lack of ethics around research that is done for Black people. So you'll see many examples here, and then in our take 3, you'll also see, just before that, if trustees or public are interested in the content of the course for BC educators, is the one that we're taking right now, the link is here. Learning to the Anti-Racist and Introductory course. And then in our take 3 sections, we just heard about the polar bear swim, but there's also a STEM activity from the Key Learning Center, as well as the skating opportunities from Key Learning Center, and Bert Ambrose as well has something there too. And Robert Ogilvie has their 100D celebrations. Lots of celebrations around the district, but with a focus on Black History Month. So that is my online report. The second item asking to be broken out, and that is a motion to approve the field trips as presented. That is my report.
Thank you. And I please get a mover and a seconder for Stephen's report, with the exception of the out-of-district field trips. Moved by Bill, seconded by Thomas. Any questions related to Stephen's report? For some reason, I had trouble getting the link in.
For the course?
No, not for the course, the link to your report on SharePoint, which
Okay.
within the agenda.
Okay.
So it may be something that was either just me, but it might be something that needs to come again.
You bet.
Be sent out. I mean, Sharon will send it out tomorrow morning.
That's
and I can
right.
Get it tomorrow, but
Okay.
it's not embedded in there the way it should be, I think.
Okay. So lots of great reading there for you.
Calling the question on that aspect of Stephen's report. All in favor? Okay. You guys, please have someone make the motion that the Board of Education approve the attached out-of-district field trips as presented. Hudson Hope to Powder King.
Yes.
And basketball for Northeast.
Yes.
Moved by Ida, seconded by Bill. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Done. And now we're moving on to the Secretary Treasurer's report.
Thank you. For my report, I have the finance update to February 28th, 2025, as well as HR support staff summary report to March 7th. And that is my report.
I please have a mover and a seconder for report. Moved by Thomas, seconded by Nicole. Discussion. Let's look at the HR report. Any questions related to this? Retirements are starting to come in. I wouldn't worry about that. Staff. Right. Let's look at the finance update. Any questions related to the finance update? So again, I sort of wondered when we looked at educational assistants and lower and support staff where our spending was lower. Is this a hiring challenge or? Lower than expected factors. So educational assistants, we would expect to have spent 60% of our budget and we're only at 52%.
Yeah, so all I can say in that kind of regard is that, when we make the estimates in the budget, the preliminary budget, we kind of based it on historical numbers or what we've seen for, EA spending. So we have found kind of a better way to project it for this current amended budget. We've broken everything out by line item, so hopefully it will align more, but, the educational assistance is largely made up of the learning support model. So people have been using we assume that they would use EAs, but we've seen more hiring of teachers. So money been directed into kind of other.
Any other
Yeah.
questions, Thomas?
Maybe this is more of an administration thing. Can we scan these? Can we scan them? Set them sideways. Makes sense. We scan them. They're just sideways. I always have to rotate them.
See,
Well, this one's not allowing me to rotate for some reason,
Oh.
so. Thank you.
we have the ability, Thomas. Leah will do her best. I don't have the ability, so we'll touch base with Jared, but.
You need a hand, I'm pretty good with
Think
that.
you guys have problems with it?
I just moved the computer.
Before, but you can't rotate it this time?
Yeah, I don't know, but my entire SharePoint's showing
We'll
up.
figure it out after.
So,
All right, calling the question. All in favor?
yeah, that bar is not even showing up on my. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 9 on our agenda, which is reports of the regular committee of the whole meeting, March the 3rd. This was our ELC adventure. And that is pages 18 to 20 in your package. Right, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Bill, seconded by Thomas. Any errors or omissions? Business arising. Leah, who are you still looking to have an answer for related to attendance at AGM?
I think David.
It shows right here, Nicole, Madeline, David.
Well, I wondered if some of those question marks had changed.
No.
All right, so we need Nicole, Madeline, and I'll ask David. Leah needs an answer about AGM because everything has to be done by Friday for spring break for registering for it, doesn't it?
I believe so. And then, there's a provincial council meeting in there too, so. stay
Yeah, and
tuned.
there's a provincial council meeting that's part of it. Yeah. It'll be the finance aspect of it.
Okay, I'll email you right now, Leah.
Okay, thanks.
Right. Calling the question then, all in favor? Carried. Moving on to business arising from those minutes. The FESL review, we tried a new process. How did that work for everybody? With for the FESLs, for the schools that we just talked briefly about each one, asked some questions. Did that work for people? Gave Stephen a little bit of homework. Right. Business arising, okay, I think any other business arising?
Can I know I'm out of order here, but I forgot to mention at the beginning, I'd like to recommend a policy update around our purchasing specifically. Do I do that in a closed meeting?
Well, it would come up at a policy committee meeting, and what you could do is ask the policy committee to look at a motion. Okay. Right. There's no other business arising. We'll move on to policy committee. A review of the attached policies. And we're looking at putting out for notice of motion, policy 4005, equipment repair. So I'm looking for a mover that the Board of Education issue a notice of motion for the adoption of policy 4005. Thomas, sorry, I started reading again.
No, I'm
Thank
just
you.
motioning.
So
Yeah.
moved by Thomas, thanks, keep me from spacing. Right, policy 5012, universal precautions. It's going out for notice of motion, so I need somebody to make the motion that the Board of Education issue a notice of motion for the adoption of policy 5012, universal precautions. Moved by Bill. Right. Moving on to policy 4010. This policy we've included in our package. We're not putting it out for motion because really the only changes that are being done to it are housekeeping ones. But we're serving notice that we did make those changes to that policy. All right. Moving on to other reports, and we'll start with BCSDA Provincial Council report. And David was going to do this report tonight. We did include in your package the Provincial Council report out. I did attend Provincial Council as an observer. And I did that because I was trying to do some follow-up related to some of our NIB things, so I would have a better understanding. As I said, the report is attached to your package. Some information from the questions and answers are not part of the package, and I'd like to share some of that. Overwhelming discussion through everybody's presentations about the uncertainty caused by tariffs will drive the budget, and there's lots of uncertainty about what will happen. The ministry mandate letters describe the expectation for ministries, but available money may impact with follow through on the mandates. They mentioned the fact that there's a new cabinet committee related to tariffs that's been formed. And I haven't really seen anything about that in the news, but they've changed their committee. They've got a committee that's looking specifically at that. There were a number of concerns expressed after Carolyn Brody's presentation or during it about the stance the BCSTA has taken regarding the official trustee being put in place in Victoria. Victoria will be 20 months without an appointed trustee, and there was a lot of feeling that this undermines the importance and the value of democratically elected boards. The BCSTA has been assured by Victoria and the Ministry of Education this situation is a one-off and it's a local situation. I can forward the report from the special advisor if anybody's interested, that will give you a greater background. I was definitely in I'm upset about this 20-month category. Then I read the report and I went, okay, there's some things that need to be worked on. The BCSTA pointed out on the call that the need to put the official trustee in place shows the importance of professional development from boards, so that they know their roles and responsibilities and are making decisions accordingly. It was also reinforced the Ministry of Infrastructure does not mean sectors will be battling for money. The pots of money stay with the sectors. It's not going to be one big pot, but then might all go to health or might go here or might go there. Trevor Davies on the said the role of the BCSTA is to prepare boards to face any challenging situations. And right now they're looking at revamping the trustee leadership program. They're repackaging it all into modules. And then people, I think they're feeling on some of it is if you're a long-term trustee and you feel you've really got this area down pat, you might want to do this module here, but not that one. And that the modules will give greater guidance, especially if we look at a high number of turnover of trustees in the next election. They'll have it ready to go. The other thing that was mentioned that I haven't seen mentioned anywhere else yet is that the Canadian School Boards Association has developed 3 anti-racism modules as training for trustees, and those will become anybody taking those if interested. I did attach all of the provincial council stuff. I don't know if there's anything, if you had a chance to look at it, if there's any questions. As I say, my role there was as an observer and attempt to answer, but I might not answer very well. Ida?
I just want to say, I told Helen this earlier, I had a conversation with her. And then I reflected after our conversation about the appointed trustee for the board. And I think it's something we've asked for over years, because if they're looking at it as a one individual board that they need to do something with, that's something we've always said, let's not put us all in the same. So I actually think I'd like the report so I could read through it.
I will.
And it made me think about that. It made me think, yeah, we are all unique. And all boards don't function the same way. So like we definitely don't run on a political basis as some do.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's well
I'll
known.
just forward it to the trustee league.
Okay, thanks.
Right.
And I did read over the bylaws.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about
Okay.
that. And the financial report, they said that if you have any questions related to that, fire them off and they're happy to answer them. And the passing of the budget will happen at the provincial council at AGM. So, but all of that information is there. So also attached to your agenda, and I know they were big packages, was the BCSTA bylaws review. And this has come up at on my president's call, it's come up on board chair calls, and then it came up at provincial council. And essentially what's happened is they've gone through a number of bylaws to do with the organization of the BCSTA, and they were updating them and reviewing them. And the package that's in front of you, in red are substantial changes. Blue is housekeeping. These have all been vetted. They're saying there's hundreds of hours of work that have gone into these, and they have all been vetted. And so what they are planning to do at AGM right off the hop is introduce a motion that says, as we go through these bylaw changes and vote on them, there will be no amendments from the floor. Because if somebody makes an amendment from the floor, they don't, within the time frame of the meeting, have the opportunity to go and check on it through all of the legal channels that they have checked on to do the work in this document. And so it is a significant change in procedure. If you followed the weekly, it's not that they don't want your thoughts on them. If there's something in here that you look at and you say, no, I just cannot live with that, I've got to speak to it, then you can send as an individual trustee. It doesn't have to be a board response. As an individual trustee, you can send your questions to Carmen Batista and do it that way. And I've explained to the best of my ability now why they are looking to do things a little differently given the number of bylaws that are in here. And the one thing that I had asked Ida just to speak to for a minute, because I was trying to understand it a little bit, was there seems to be a bit of a changing role for provincial council, and that's mentioned. And I am not as aware of what the role of provincial council was for previous boards as to what it is now. So I'm hoping Ida can give us a little bit of background there.
Well, I've read through this, and I've also, being provincial councillor last year, and the last couple of times, compared to when I was first the provincial council, there is a change, but the change is years ago, they didn't have all the board chair meetings, and most provincial councillors were the board chairs. So I think they've taken some of the things that used to happen at provincial council and put it onto the board chair meetings now. But the financials and the motions and stuff have always been the same as it is now. There is no real change in that. Provincial council is still the one that does the financial and stuff. So I don't see that much change in it at all.
It's the biggest red section, but it may be that it was the biggest place where they had to do a lot of aligning of language and
Yeah.
rewriting of things.
Because when I read through it, it looked like a lot of it was just changing of the committee names and things like that. And I read through it a couple times to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And the only thing I saw in here that I think that I'll have to write or do something about is on one of the pages. They say honorarium trustees go to the AGM free, and there was a motion that they no longer do that. So
Serving trustees.
I just have a quick question, and
Yeah.
maybe you'll have the answer.
Maybe.
18, district branch associations. I'm just seeing the Conseillère
Yeah.
Scolaire Francophone is being removed. Is there, do you know if
Which
there's
page?
18?
Page 18.
Is that to be replaced with a
May
different
attend and
Francophone?
vote at the meetings. This is red is a substantial addition. And at our NIB meetings right now, they haven't had a vote. They haven't been part of things. And I actually sat with the board chair for the CSF, and they do have a Francophone school as part of their program in Prince George. So should this motion be passed, we at NIB will have to amend our constitution, and we'll be coming back to it to allow them to attend our functions or have someone attend our function.
Okay.
because Thomas, even before they this is actually fairly new that they even belong to the BCS. Yay.
I think it's a good change. I was misunderstanding the red, so.
Well, and
Perfect.
the other thing that there was lots of talk of is the Yukon coming in as an affiliate member. But some people didn't get that it was just an affiliate membership to join the BCSTA. It doesn't mean that the Yukon is affiliating with the province of BC and now we're going to be part of all of our finances and all of the other things that are going on. It's just that the Yukon has made the decision to run the BC curriculum. So right now they're affiliated with the Alberta School Trustees Association. So when they go to events and curriculum and things are discussed, it's not the curriculum that they're running in their area. So the concept would be that we had at our last meeting at Academy, we had people from Whitehorse sit in on our NIB meeting because they were there observing and watching. And we had until this change goes through, there was no provision in the BCSTA bylaws for that affiliate organization. I'm explaining lots of explaining, and I don't always get it myself. On to 10.1C, there was a board chair call on February the 20th, and it was a joint meeting with Minister Bear from Education and Childcare and Minister Ma from Infrastructure. And the meeting was largely dominated by infrastructure and trying to outline what infrastructure was and where it was going to intersect. And I can tell you, Minister Ma is a salesman. So the Ministry of Infrastructure is looking at a coordinated, cost-effective way to build and overhaul public buildings. Any provincial building that's providing provincial service is now underneath their mandate. So the capital management branches from all ministries have been pulled into this structure, into this one Ministry of Infrastructure. Education's there, health's there, transportation is there. Anybody that has had a management branch that builds buildings is there. Some of the advantages they see is pulling a whole bunch of brains together, and the people from education might learn something from health and vice versa. They're talking again of standardizing building designs, coordinating planning and procurement, and they're hoping that it will result in a cost reduction and greater efficiency, also an expedited approval process. I talked already about the capital teams together for central knowledge. Given the current tariff situations, there are exposure to risks on current projects, and there is a potential impact on the overall provincial budget, of course. The 5-year capital process plan for us remains the same. They're kind of hoping that some of the federal immigration changes will actually mean a growth and slowdown, so they might be able to catch up on some things. They reiterated that they expect the envelopes of money to each sector will be similar. In rural areas, she spoke specifically about the concept of looking at hubs where all rural services are co-located. So you might have public health and education sharing a space. They're also looking at integrated use of facilities on available land, no matter what sector has the land. And again, it was a place where they were really stressing that potential job loss from tariffs will impact the economy and available money the government has to work with. BCPC, is there anything, Thomas, that has come your way from BCPC?
No, I don't think I'm on the mailing list yet, actually. So I haven't received much of anything from BCPC. Coming to think of it.
You're just reading that.
We're on the list.
Am I on the list?
Yeah.
Okay.
After the election, the next day, we submitted the document.
Sounds good. So maybe it just has a lot.
It's
Lot
been
hasn't-
pretty slow,
Okay.
but I can look through and forward them to you.
I remember last year I was getting them all the time.
Yeah. Well, it might ramp up as we get further down, move from the local bargaining table to the provincial bargaining tables. And included in your package also is the information, I believe, on the CSBA conference in Winnipeg, July 2nd to the 5th. We did have Nicole go last year to, was it Toronto, Nicole? So it is coming up in Winnipeg. So it didn't look like there was any early bird registration, but you can go and take a look. And if there's something there that appeals to you, we can talk about sending it. All right. Amended annual budget, item number 11 on our agenda.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it very much. As soon as I run the slideshow, it's going to try to record, so you're gonna have closed captioning on it because I just tried to figure it out unless somebody knows how for that not to happen. But otherwise, it will document there, anything we say. Also, there was, the budget was updated on the SharePoint because Adam and I are working, Adam is our accounting manager, we're working together on it. And I went through and I adjusted the wages into the correct categories and, you know, being his first amended budget, we felt they should go somewhere else, so he changed them and then it went through and so I've changed them. So the document that's in there, you'll know, if you looked at the previous one to this, there's some reallocations in and inclusive education as well as 162 international. So, and then that's it. Please feel free to ask questions along the way. If then I'm not just talking. And you'll be able to read whatever I say along the bottom as well. So that's a lovely, accessible item that we have moving forward, which I can't figure out how to disable. So this is the presentation of the 2024-25 amended annual budget. In there for today. Again, I'd like to thank Wanda for her great PowerPoint skills in preparing this document for me. So. There's features in it too, enrollment comparison. So for the 2025 amended budget, we did see some increases in enrollment. There was an overall increase in FTE by 155. FTE, the increase for brick and mortar is 15.43. And then the rest of the increase is attributed to DL for the 3 different windows. So we know the one for September. Then we've worked with Sean at the Key, the principal there, and put some numbers down for February and May that were substantially higher than what we had originally put in for the preliminary budget, but they are more aligned with the numbers that we saw at the end of the year for the 23-24 year. So we're confident with those numbers, but again, we will monitor the enrollment before we spend the money. So hopefully it comes to fruition. February, I feel comfortable with. It's May that's kind of the more to come on that one. So we can see the overall increases, 155 for school age, a slight increase for adult, and then the other category is summer school, and we can see a small drop in that. So next step is to talk about operating revenue. So for the preliminary budget to the amended, we see an increase of 1.387 million. And those are the various categories. I'm happy to go over them if there's appetite for it.
Your number on the bottom right, 1.387.
Difference.
That's the variance between the amended to the preliminary.
Mine's 1390.
Oh, sorry. Additional disclaimer on, this was done on Friday and Adam did it and I reviewed it today. I'll upload. I thought I did, but I didn't upload the new presentation. Sorry, Bill. So there's a variance there of about $2,200 from yours to mine, but mine is the definitive copy and I'll upload it to the site. I appreciate that very much. So this is right off of the ministry website. You'll see the ministry funding is 81 million this year. After the September count went in. I find the writing extremely distracting. I wish I knew how to turn it off. These are the numbers that you will see on the within the budget. So the 81 comes straight off of the ministry document. Then we add the first rows up until childcare is all ministry funding. Now where you see the blank for the preliminary budget is because those numbers, for example, labor settlement funding, we didn't get until this year. So we didn't know about what the amount would be, so we couldn't budget for it. Childcare funding was previously presented as a special purpose fund. So that's why it doesn't show up in the preliminary budget.
Angela, do you want me to turn off the subtitles for you?
I would love that so much if you know. It's not using the proper exclamation, there's capitals, it's literally driving me crazy. So childcare funding is in the current amended budget as it should be. It is an operational item. It's not in the special purpose funds as it was originally put in the budget last year. The labor settlement funding represents the 1% COLA and exempt staff increases. We also see the additional distance learning funding is in there, projected to be about 857,000 for May and June. The February special needs recount brings in approximately 65,000. Childcare funding comes both from the ministry there's many different acronyms. That's for the portion that we apply for parent subsidies and we receive directly. And then the rest of it is in miscellaneous and childcare. The amount in miscellaneous and childcare for childcare is $475,000. And then obviously miscellaneous and childcare is substantially higher. That's because we saw miscellaneous revenue from insurance payouts for playgrounds, as well as some additional insurance items, as well as we had worked with a company to assess our tax GST, PST payments, and they came back with some rebates. So those are included in there as well. And then investment income, we've dropped by 80,000. And best laid plans, we saw an additional drop in our interest income. So hopefully we'll come in close to that. But if the interest rate keeps dropping, well, it might be a little shy, but that's our best guess right now. And that brings our total revenue for 24-25 to 86,627,172, which is approximately 4.2 million over the preliminary budget. Lovely visual of just to let us know that the 97% of our revenue comes from the Ministry of Education and Childcare. Interest income is 0.6. 1.33 is miscellaneous revenue and rentals, and then international is 0.86. International and Alberta tuition. So expenses by function, as I had to look at this a couple times because our percentages line up, even though our expenditures went up by like 3.3 million, our percentages dedicated to instruction, district administration, operations and maintenance, and transportation stayed the same. I did the numbers probably 3 times because I'm like, that can't be correct, but it aligns, and the majority of the money is going to instruction, where it should be going to should that it's this is a breakdown by salaries and services. So salaries and benefits are coming in at 85%, and services and supplies are 15% to make the 100%. Sure. So when our revenue comes in at 86.6 million, our total expenses are 86 million. So that leaves 568 as looking like revenue over and above, but then we are purchasing roughly $1.3 million in assets. We we're on a refresh for IT. We have identified some aging equipment that have been, we did purchase several vehicles last year, but we still have some that we're looking at very high repair bills. So we're looking to replace them and ensure that we have like the features that we have in place to continue with our recruitment, like vans for Prespa2, ensuring our tradespeople can go independently out to sites instead of going 2 by 2, so that more work can get done. Things like lawnmowers that we ended up having to rent last year because they kept breaking down, snow removal machines. So we're trying to address some of that, but again, being mindful of the revenue that is supposed to be coming in, just monitoring that before we make any spends that we don't have the money for. So, but we are also pulling from surplus, we're appropriating 735,000. So that creates it looks like a budget here, but it would be a budget surplus deficit of $0. So we're bringing to you a balanced budget. Here's outside of operating, we also have our special purpose funds. So this is the expenses and capital assets that we anticipate spending outside of the operating budget, which comes to 13.2 million. This is the amended budget bylaw. So you can see the total operating expenses are 86,059,528 million. The capital fund total expense is $6,093,803. Special purpose funds and capital assets that we just showed in the previous slide, 13,217,716. And then the operating capital asset purchases at 1,303,630, which makes the amended budget bylaw of 106,674,677.
Thomas?
So with the large expenditures in IT and potential future purchases as well, and we're coming to the end here, but the tariffs, do we see that impacting significantly?
Yeah, what Helen was speaking to is they put together a committee through Focused Education. So the only thing I believe they've currently identified, there's one red item. And sadly, off the top of my head, I can't remember. I'll look through my email. But IT was to be determined. Supplies, office supplies to be determined. So really the committee, because it's early days, hasn't brought anything. I would assume it would have to be impacted, especially if we have iPads and Macs in our district. That states like we're definitely going to see something there, but then the way a budget works is we will have to adjust accordingly, and then we'll have to figure it out. If the money is not there, we can't pretend and act like it is, so we'll have to adjust accordingly. We're definitely in our meetings down south, it was brought forward like that the ministry is mandated to buy Canadian. And the trickle down is like it would be in our best interest to try to see what is available locally as opposed to going.
Or even countries that uphold agreements?
So more to come on that. It's definitely was a hot topic in our meetings as well. And I wish I had a crystal ball that would allow me to predict what was going to happen. And I'm trying to keep a positive perspective because we don't know yet. So I tend to panic before something happens, but for some reason this time I'm not panicking. We're just going to figure it out because the numbers are the numbers and then we have to adjust.
Other questions for Angela? Right. Thank you very much, Angela. I know it reflects a significant amount of work.
Yeah, and it was actually, if I may say, we have more people who are technologically savvy in my accounting manager. He's managed to get every single line item from projects to everything in these very large spreadsheets. And initially my gut was, please don't. But then now it's exciting. It's very good. So
where we can.
I agree. So thank you.
Right. So I am going to ask for a motion that in accordance with section 68.4 of the School Act, all three readings of the amended budget bylaw will be given. Moved by Bill, seconded by Thomas. Calling the question, All in favor? That's carried. All right, I will proceed with the first reading of the amended annual budget bylaw and then ask for a motion that it be accepted. This is the amended annual budget bylaw, a bylaw of the Board of Education of School District number 60, of the board to adopt the amended annual budget of the board fiscal year 2024-2025 pursuant to section 113 of the School Act, RSBC 1996 C412, as amended from time to time called the Act. The board has complied with the provisions of the Act, ministerial orders, and Ministry of Education and Child Care policies respecting the amended annual budget adopted by this bylaw. This bylaw may be cited as School District number 60, Peace River North, and amended annual budget bylaw for the fiscal year. The attached statement 2 showing the estimated revenue and expense for the 2024-2025 fiscal year and the total budget bylaw amount of $106,674,677 for the 2024-2025 fiscal year was prepared in accordance with the Act. Statement 2, 4, and Schedules 1 to 4 are adopted as the amended annual budget of the board for the fiscal year 2024-2025. Read first time on the 10th day of March 2025. Would I please have a mover? Moved by Ida, seconded by Bill for that reading. Right. The board has adopted that. So I need a motion that the second and the third meeting can be done in short form. Moved by Bill, seconded by Nicole. Right. So the second reading in short form. This is a bylaw of the Board of Education for School District 60, Peace River North. It's the amended annual budget of the board for 2024-2025. And it's based on section 113 of the School Act. The board has followed the provisions of the Act, ministerial orders, and all policies regarding this budget. It is going to be cited as our annual budget bylaw, amended annual budget bylaw. The attached statement 2 shows that our estimated revenue and expense of the year is $106,674,677. We've followed and prepared schedules 2, 4, and schedules 1 to 4.
Before we move it, we have to all in favor.
Oh, I forgot the all in favor. Thank you. Okay, so go back to the all in favor. All in favor. Thank you for keeping me honest.
Now we can go to vote.
All right, so now we need a motion to adopt the second reading of the amended annual budget bylaw for 2024-2025. Moved by Thomas, seconded by Ida. And it will be was read a second time on, again, the 10th day of March 2025. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Now, we did the all in favor. Let's move on to reading number 3. It's our amended annual budget bylaw for School District 60, Peace River North, and it's done according to section 113 of the School Act. We have followed all relevant orders in preparing this. It will be cited as our amended annual budget bylaw for 2024-2025. Our budget bylaw is in the amount of $106,674,677, and it was prepared in accordance with the Act, and we've got all the appropriate schedules attached. So, could I please have a motion that we adopt the third reading? moved by Bill, seconded by Thomas. Calling question, all in favor? Move on. It's 3 readings on these routes.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to correspondence. And we started on Friday morning with Minister Bear, and she had lots of good news money announcements, and ran out to do the food program. So we have a letter now that confirms that our funding for all of our early child care, education and childcare initiatives will stay in place for next year. But we were one of the 3 districts that was part of the integration inquiry project. And so we got a much larger pot of money to play with and put a tremendous amount of services in place. And as you recall, we've already had conversation about what are we going to do if that money isn't there. So it is there for 1 more year, but you can see in the letter that they're definitely foreshadowing that they want a review of the programs that are in place and what is going on. And one of the things is that should we not get the same level of funding, not for next year, but the following year, we would have to partway through the year start to look at processes to reduce staff in this department. So it's an area that we would have to start to really have some long range vision about. And I think that right now, it's just kind of like, phew, we got it out there and you've got the money for next year, but we really don't know what we're doing the following year. So when you see the timeline that's going into preparing the amended annual budget and what we're working under, we would need to request some decisions being made about this program's continuation, not for next year, but for the following year, much earlier than we received this letter. So on behalf of the board, I'm quite prepared to write a letter back to Minister Bear, thanking her very much, letting her know about all the wonderful things that we're doing, but saying, should there not be the same level of funding the following year, we need to hear about it a whole lot earlier. If that resonates with people. Thomas?
I would even go as far as to say at least a 2 or 3 year understanding of what our funding looks like would be extremely beneficial.
Did I understand, Helen, that, did we get an increase for next year?
No, we get to hold the same amount,
Okay.
which you remember, we only got it for 3 years to begin with. So now we've got a 4th year, and it's a 4th year at a substantially higher rate than many other districts got.
Okay.
The letter has a breakdown of all of the pilot projects. So in addition to getting the integration inquiry project, we have just before preschools going on. We have our school age childcare, we contracted out to the YMCA, but we do have it going on. We've got seamless day kindergarten. There isn't anything in this smorgasbord of what's going on in early childhood that we're not doing. So if the pot of money is shrinking, it's not fair to think that we're going to continue to benefit from all of those programs. And right now, she says there's 38 of 60 school districts participating in 1 or more pilots. Well, we've got them all. So we have substantial staffing in early childhood. Angela, do you have anything? You
Yeah,
want
the
to add?
school age childcare project, we're not part of that.
Okay, so that's.
Everything is run independently for our
Okay.
school age.
So there's one on here that we're not part of.
They do enjoy working with us.
So I will draft something, but probably not till after spring break, and run it by you and bring it back to the meeting. I think that in Tracy LaRiviere's presentation at Advance, there was some foreshadowing of this, and there's certainly some anxiety. And the other thing that she mentioned that I've asked Angela to bring some information back on, and it may be something we want to build into this letter, is the concept that the rates that we can charge for some of these programs are not yet at cost recovery, and we can't put them higher because there's a northern cap. So there's some things to understand a little bit better.
Yeah, it's a maximum percentage increase if each time you apply for it, yeah.
So if you started low, you'll never get up to match any inflationary pressures or keep up with wages. It's just a percentage maximum percentage you can increase. Facilities wages.
Okay, so we'll bring something back. Is there anything else, Stephen, from your perspective that would be important to communicate with her? I mean, I'm glad to have the money, don't get me wrong. But I don't want to suddenly next June. We've established all these programs in our community, and the community is looking forward to them. And if we have to cut back, it shouldn't be a surprise at the end of the year.
Just that, I mean, the work that Angela does with the overall operation piece, we're in a much better position financially with the entire envelope of early learning than we have ever been in the past. So we're very close to sustainable financial viability than we've ever been before.
But again, we don't
No,
want,
can't count on, we absolutely staff endorse the advocacy there. I'm just saying, thanks to the work of staff, we're getting quite close to sustainable financial viability in terms of the programs we do have.
okay. All right, Nicole, any thoughts out there? Because you've got Strong Start and preschool going on now. All right, unfinished business. So we've had many discussions ongoing probably since December, January, related to where we stand in regards to conflict of interest. And we need to come to a decision on our contract ratification process. So I am looking for a motion from you that we can use as a discussion starting point and ultimately to reach a decision. Ida?
I have a question. The motion, can I make the motion even though I'm in the red zone?
I believe you can because it's related to process. And right now we are at a process motion. It's a process for contract
Because
ratification.
I really like this low risk motion. Move that the board proceed with contract ratification with the quorum being formed from those trustees not in conflict and those at low risk conflict for BCPC guidelines, and I'll move that motion.
All right. Is there a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Thomas, and Nicole also has her hand up. Further discussion related to it. Ida?
As I said before, I am in conflict, but I absolutely can stand behind my fellow trustees that aren't in conflict, are in the yellow zone, and know that they will do the correct thing by ratifying the contract. And I just would like to say that I will stand behind them. So that's why I want to know if I could make the motion.
And basically, we went to the court last time and the court said exactly what you're saying right now and actually returned our red zone too. So other comments, questions for discussion? Thomas?
No, I agree with everything that you just said. Same understanding that the low risk is definitely the way to go, and
No?
Comfortable with trusting low risk.
Nicole?
Yep, I'm on board.
All
As long
right,
as those people that are not in as much conflict are willing to.
well, we can make this motion and the 4 people that are in the yellow zone have to be comfortable accepting that. And so 3 of them are here. I believe that Angela has some feedback from Madeline that she can give.
Yeah, Madeline is in favor of taking the low risk approach, so the motion that Ida put forward.
So that allows me to know for sure that we would have 4. And I did have some conversation with David via email today, and he would like the 0 risk option. He just feels that that is kind of personally where he's at, but because we have the potential of 5 being returned through this motion, he could still have a choice that fits within his individual thing, and we would still be able to proceed as a board as long as we're all thinking on that.
So that would still leave, because we've heard from the 4, that, like Bill and I definitely are in conflict. And then David could decide if he wanted to go into conflict.
Yes.
And we'd still have 4.
Yeah, so some of the statements that people have made, Leah, regarding where they're positioned are important for us to capture in the minutes. And I'm going to state there is the letter of the law and there's the spirit of the law. When I took my oath of office, I agreed to make child-centered, student-centered decisions. And my low-risk conflict of interest, I don't think nullifies me from making an impartial decision related to this. So that's where I stand. So I'm going to call the question of those that are here. All in favor of proceeding with the motion as Ida put it forward. Thank you. That motion is carried. That gives our staff some direction around contract ratification. Thank you very much for all your hard work on that. I know it was a bit of a brain drain. Moving on to new business, we don't have anybody here from the PRNTA or CUPE or District Parent Advisory Council. We don't have anybody from the public with us, but we do have the press with us. And can we answer any questions for you, sir?
Yeah, just a few questions for Mr. Petrucci, and nothing regarding what was spoken at the meeting here, but the presentation at the very beginning, that was a good one by the Outdoor Education Center. Obviously, if I could get photos with captions on those, that'd be great. It's a good story to attend. Also, from the last committee of the whole meeting held at Pomeroy Center, presentation done there that concerned students' mental health. I'd love to get more details on that. Sorry, last week it wasn't in the agenda on the School District 60 website.
Yeah, we can definitely connect on that. And I'll add that it was thanks to your reporting on the polar bear dip that we invited them here tonight.
Oh, really?
We didn't know about it because the polar bear dip is not a field trip that would come to the board table because it's just an in-school regular local field trip. And it was through your reporting that we even knew about it. So we appreciate the synergy.
And what I'll do, if that's okay, is I'll put you in direct contact with Scott Hyde because he'll be able to answer your questions in more detail than me.
Perfect.
If that's all right.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that's everything.
You betcha.
Thank you so much. All right, could I please have a motion to suspend our regular meeting and move into camera? Moved by Bill, seconded by Thomas. All in favor? All right, Leah, please stop the recording. Right, and we need to note that trustee Gillis did have to leave us. She got called to an emergency. And what I do need now is a motion to bring the in-camera motions forward to the regular agenda, moved by Ida, seconded by Thomas. All in favor? Carried. And now we need a motion for adjournment. Moved by Bill, seconded by Thomas. Following the question, all in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.